Warm greetings. On behalf of Wednesdays for Water, an initiative of the W4W Foundation, a think tank built as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of the talk series. Wednesdays for Water is a water conversation series towards understanding the nuances of water conservation and management. The objective is to engage with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to learn their thoughts and ideas about these complex intertwined issues which are associated with water, and also find out with them the possible solutions they are working on. We have expanded to more activities like you may be knowing Friday Waters and the Monday Munching with Women for Water, besides organizing water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, and special courses and conference panels. To continue this water conversation in various possible ways we can do, please visit our website, www.w4w.in, for more details. You will be very happy to learn that we are starting with a biodiversity series to bring our conversation focus on other creatures of the planet than the anthropocentric approach to water conservation, development, and management. In the last almost 2 seasons, we have barely touched upon biodiversity. Very few sessions have happened on other creatures who co-inhabit this planet. And this is where we have pledged that this season we are going to dedicate at least one session a month minimum to talk about them and really pay our tribute to them for their coexistence with us. And to do this honor, we have Dr. Jayati Chourey to moderate the session and the series as well. So Dr. Jayati Chourey is Executive Director at the South Asia Consortium for Interdisciplinary Water Resources Studies, which is SaciWATERs in Hyderabad. She holds a PhD degree in ecosystem-based and integrated water resource management in the discipline of forest ecology and environment from IIFM Bhopal and FRI Dehradun. So I will now basically invite Jayati to take over the session as well as responsibility of the series to give us an overview. What is the series we are planning for and what is the session today? And before that, I thank you, Jayati, to really take this up with me and discuss how to go about it. And thanks all the participants for really helping us complete season 2 and now starting the season 3 with this wonderful dedication to other creatures. So over to you, Jayati, and we are really grateful that you could take this responsibility along with us.
So good evening, everyone. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mansi and the W4W Foundation team and also the other organizing partners for providing me this opportunity to host this special series on water and biodiversity every second Wednesday of the month. So during my previous meetings with Mansi, we both shared the same concern that how ecological perspective is entirely missing from the mainstream anthropocentric water discourses. Our focus generally remains on human usage, be it for irrigation, energy, drinking water, sanitation, and also sometimes fisheries, but from a food security and livelihood perspectives. Sometimes we do talk about ecosystems and ecosystem services, but that too from human point of view. I understand that it's like this at least provides some incentive for human society to value other living creatures. But it's high time that we acknowledge that planet Earth is home to 8.7 million species, with human being just one among them. The biodiversity we witness today is the result of 4.5 billion years of Earth's evolutionary process. Selected by nature, every species has an important and integral role to play in the functioning of ecosystem and providing ecosystem services. However, human ego, like we always, we were taught that human is the top consumer, and we always see human in the pyramid, top of that pyramid. So this human ego, ignorance, and lack of environmental ethics has led to this present day existential crisis for planet Earth. We need to understand that the water is not just a commodity or just H2O, but a living ecosystem in itself. And it's also part of other larger ecosystems. But due to anthropogenic activities, the aquatic biodiversity is in dangerous decline. The population of freshwater species, including fish, birds, and amphibians, have declined by 84% around the world in just past 50 years. And the situation in India is no different. Nearly 30% of our natural wetlands in India have lost in the last 3 decades. So in this context, this series aims to create and develop public awareness on aquatic biodiversity and their conservation status. This special series will take away the spotlight from Homo sapiens sapiens and shift it on other living creature, other species with whom we share this planet. The session will bring the ecological perspective to the forefront. Every session will take you to a new aquatic ecosystem and some amazing species. So stay tuned for an exciting journey to the wonderful aquatic world. So today our spotlight is on freshwater fish, kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, and subphylum Vertebrata. So we have 2 experts and 1 discussant with us, and with them we will discuss about indigenous freshwater fish biodiversity of India, challenges and conservation strategies. So I would like to welcome our first speaker from Kashmir, Professor Tasaduq Shah. Professor Shah is Associate Professor and Senior Scientist of Fishery Biology, Division of Fisheries Resources Management, Faculty of Fisheries at Sher-e Kashmir, University of Agriculture Sciences and Technology of Kashmir. He has expertise in fish biology, morphology, biodiversity, and conservation. He has more than 25 years of experience in this sector. So warm welcome to Professor Shah. We look forward to an enriching a session with you.
Thank you. So shall I start?
Yes, yes. So Professor Shah will be talking about snow trouts of Kashmir, the trouble treasure.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Jayati. Before I proceed, actually, I would like to thank the South Asian Consortium for Interdisciplinary Water Resources Studies for giving me an opportunity to talk about the snow trouts of Kashmir, as I have given the title, The Troubled Treasure. These are actually indigenous fish, and definitely they are in trouble because of the activities which we are doing in and around these water bodies. So I would also like to thank the other esteemed members, Dr. Mansi, Dr. Jayati, Dr. Fauzia, then the other speaker, Dr. Shilpi, and our young discussant, Mr. Sushant, and all the other esteemed members of the audience that are hearing me today. So this is the outline of my presentation. I definitely would like to finish this within the 15 minutes that have been allotted to me. So outline is fish diversity, then cold water fish diversity, then something about the snow trouts of Kashmir, then the problems which these fish are facing day in and day out, then the conservation measures which we can take so that we are able to give it a better environment. So this is something which is very basic. Most of the audience will be aware of what biodiversity is. It's the commonest definition that we have is the variety of life and ecosystems that make up the fresh water, tidal, and the marine regions of the world and their interactions. Then these freshwaters are, of course, different from marine waters because of the content of salt that is present there. So we say that freshwaters are those which contain drinkable water or water which has almost no salt content. If we give something a more technical term, so we say that it should be less than 5 ppt, 0.5 ppt, the salinity. Then these are created by water that enters the terrestrial environment. We have all read about the hydrological cycle during our school days, and as precipitation it enters and then it flows both above and below the ground towards finally it meets the sea. And their boundaries are actually constantly changing with the seasonality of the hydrological cycle. During the monsoons, we have more water discharge into the rivers and the streams and the lakes also. And then after the monsoon, definitely this level goes on declining. And if we talk about the freshwater percentage, it is not very huge percentage if we compare to the total amount of water that is present on Earth. So it is estimated to have only 35 million cubic kilometers of freshwater. That comes, if we give it in liters, that comes somewhere around 3.5 into 10⁻19 liters of freshwater, or only 2.5% of all water resources. And this 2.5% is not available, for habitation, like for the plankton or the zooplankton or the other aquatic life, because only 23.5% of this 2.5% is habitable. The rest is in the form of ice or something which is not habitable. Biodiversity if we talk about the freshwater systems, it's slightly different from how it is distributed in the marine systems, because some of the audience might be from marine environments. In case of marine environments, we see that there's a fundamental difference between these two systems. In case of the marine environments or the sea, what we say, these are extensional regions. And these are more or less continuous or very, very vast areas where the expanse is huge in case of the marine waters. And then the species that are present there, they adjust their ranges to some degree as climate or ecological changes occur, or ecological conditions change in that particular area. But in case of the freshwater habitats, these are relatively discontinuous. And many freshwater species, they are not able to disperse across the land barriers that separate river drainages into discrete units. So what happens is that this thing, because of the discontinuous nature of these freshwater habitats, there are three important consequences that appear there in case of the freshwater habitats. So number one is that these freshwater species, whatever it is, whether it's a crustacean or it is a fish or it is an amphibian, so these have to survive climatic and ecological changes in that particular place. And freshwater biodiversity is usually highly localized. And even small lake or stream systems, they often harbor unique forms which are locally evolved forms of life. And then again, freshwater species diversity, we say, this is high even in regions where the number of species at any given point is very low. Since these species, they differ between one site and the other site. So if we see even in our streams, you have the torrential part of a particular stream, which is coming out of a glacier. And then, so that part is the rapid part or the torrential part. And then finally, it moves to the plains where the velocity is not that much. So even in 1 kilometer, you'll be having different species, which will not be able to survive in the other environment. In case of the plains, the fish are different, whereas in case of the rapids, the fish species which are present there are entirely different. Then if we see the total number of fish species which are recorded throughout the world, the global fish diversity is around 30,000 plus living species of fish. This is the latest reference for Nelson. He writes, this is the fifth edition of that particular book, The Fishes of the World, released in 2015. Then from this, we see that there are around 12,000 species which are exclusively freshwater in origin. And if we talk about diversity, we see that in case of the tropics, the diversity of fish is more, but as we move from the tropics, we move to the poles, the diversity of the fishes in general, it decreases. Towards the poles, the diversity decreases, whereas towards the tropics, the diversity increases. And if we just give an example, I tell you that there's these many of these Arctic lakes. There is only one species of fish which is present there, the Arctic carp. But if you compare it to some other lakes, like in case of the tropics, let's talk about Lake Malawi, there are at least more than 1,000 species of fish there. So one particular lake, only one species, but another lake, more than 1,000 species. So, and in general, the Arctic region, to which this UT of Jammu and Kashmir also belongs, you can see in the map also, this is species poor. And this Palearctic region, as you might be aware, that this is one of the largest of these biogeological plates, and it comprises of the entire Europe, then Asia, but only north of Himalayas, and then Africa, north of the Sahara Desert. So this area is species poor. We see that in case of Northeast Asia, the South America and Africa, they have the most freshwater fishes, although many have not even been described. Even in our own country, we see that there are many species which are being described every day in the northeastern region, which is one of the biodiversity hotspots. And if we see about the Indian biodiversity, there are around 2,500 plus fish species which are reported in India. So this represents approximately 10% of the global biodiversity. And the approximate ecosystem-wise distribution of the fish germplasm resource in India, we see in this pie chart, it is 3.32% is the cold water. The rest belongs to marine, 65%, 6.5% is the brackish water, and the warm water is around 25%. So what now talk about the cold water fish biodiversity. So cold waters are actually those resources which are located 914 meters above mean sea level in the Himalayas or sub-Himalayan zone and the mountains of the Deccan. And temperature varies between 0 to 20 degrees Celsius, but the optimal range is around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. And these areas, the cold waters, lakes and streams of the high altitude, these are characterized by high transparency because the water is very, very torrential because of this dissolved oxygen content is also very large as compared to the water when it moves to the plains, but because of diffusion and torrential very fast flow, the dissolved oxygen content of these waters is very high, and also there is sparse biota in these areas. Fishes which are present there are also small in size, and distribution pattern, it depends upon the rate of flow of water, nature of substrata, and the food availability. So some fishes living in the turbulent streams, they also have developed special organs for attachment like suckers or the pectoral fins, the sucking discs, so that they are able to hold on to that particular area because the velocity of water is very fast in those areas. As I said earlier also, that fish diversity is poorer in colder waters. If we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, we have now, of course, Ladakh is not a part of J&K, but earlier Ladakh was a part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So we have, one is the Jammu region, Jammu province, which is slightly warmer. Then we have Kashmir, which is colder, of course, and then Ladakh, which is very, very cold. That's an cold, arid desert. In Kashmir Valley, we have an approximate area around 16,000 square kilometers, and we have just 20 fish species which are reported in Kashmir Valley. We compare it to Jammu province, it has an area of approximately 26,000 square kilometers. And if we talk about the fish species, it has 105 fish species. Then Ladakh, the area is around 60,000 square kilometers, but the number of species just 15. So we see even in Jammu and Kashmir, when we move from warmer waters to colder waters, the diversity of these fish species, it decreases. Okay, so these are the fishes of Kashmir. some pictures about the SaciWATERs. So these 5 are the SaciWATER species. It is also pronounced as schizothorax. So these are actually reported from Kashmir. Now we have only these 5. Earlier there was another species which was reported, the Richardsoni, Schizothorax richardsoni. It was reported from Kashmir waters, but we have never seen it. So I have removed it from that list. So earlier records, if we see some maybe 20, 50 years back reports, we found that there are 40 fish species. But now when we see now, it's somewhere around 20, 21 species. So these are the schizothorax or the snow trouts. Then we also have some more indigenous fish species. These are some of the catfishes, and you can see these fishes. These are also, some of them are also classified as the small indigenous fish species. These are also present like these Triplophysa kashmirensis, Triplophysa marmorata. And then this particular fish species, Botia birdei, now this is not seen. So there are some people we say that this might have even gone into extinction. This is also called as Ram Gurun. Then these are 2 more of these fish species. One is Bangana diplostoma, and then this one Torputera. Or this again is not, we are not able to see this particular fish species. Now this is a Masir, but now we are not able to, get any, even one particular, one sample, we're not able to get it from Kashmir. And if we talk about the exotic species, these have been introduced either accidentally or by purpose into Kashmir, like this Cariceus, then Gambusia. This is also present in tropics, the mosquito fish, then this one, the rosy barb. Then also we have this, the Carpio, Cyprinus carpio, the common carp, which is the one of the most widely cultured fish in the world. This is present almost in entire India. Then these are the 2 trouts which we have in plenty. This one is the Oncorhynchus mycus rainbow trout, and then this is Salmotruta ferio, the brown trout. These 2 have been introduced since more than 100 years back in the time of the Maharajas, but now they are very, very well established. And in fact, these are also, resulted in a decline in the local indigenous fish populations. Then this one is the brook trout, which was introduced in Kashmir, but because of, non-acceptance of feed and then low survival rate, it is not found anywhere in Kashmir now. So these snow trouts, they, as I said, they belong to the genus Schizothorax, and these are indigenous fish of Kashmir, present in Kashmir for a long, long time. And then these several species of fishes, the SaciWATERs, these are characteristically pelagic elements, which have reached Kashmir across the Himalayas. And then the extent of these fishes, if we see it, goes on thinning when we move towards the Indian region or the peninsular India. And it goes on increasing when we move away move towards the Palearctic region. And the origin of these SaciWATERs, it has occurred during the first interglacial period. That's almost 400 to 500,000 years ago. This, because of these, when the turbulent streams had formed in Central Asia, so these fish have a Central Asian origin, and on account of melting of ice during the first interglacial period, these fishes have reached across Himalayas into Kashmir Valley. And in the second interglacial period, there was east-west drainage when the fish migrated westwards to Kashmir and Sistan, which is the present-day Iran, and they have proliferated during the second and the subsequent interglacial periods. All of these fish, the Schizothoracids, these are elongated, laterally compressed bodies, and they have very, relatively short head, and they are relatively small in size. These Kashmir Valley Schizothorax community is apparently not unique for the valley, because these are present in some other areas, especially in Pakistan. They're present in China. They are also present in Afghanistan, although it seems to hold more species than any other Schizothorax locality. So if you see in Pakistan, all 5 or 6 of them will not be present. But it also seems that this Schizothorax niger is endemic to Kashmir because it's not found in any other area. So problems, I've just given a list. We can discuss it later. Probably Dr. Shilpi will also be having a similar slide, because this is, the problems which our fish are facing. Water pollution, encroachment, loss of habitat, decreasing water level, deforestation in the catchment area, siltation, unplanned urbanization, then population explosion, overexploitation, and destructive fishing methods, and of course the introduction of exotics. Then conservation, there are many measures which we can take to ensure that these do not go into extinction, like proper rules and the regulations we need to have. Then, of course, after making these rules, we need to implement these rules, because implementation is very poor in our country because we do not have adequate manpower for that. So implementation is very, very important. Then in situ and ex situ conservation, habitat management, habitat development and maintenance. Then another very important thing on which our university is also working is the artificial breeding of these particular fish. We have developed technology for artificial breeding of 2 schizothoracids. And then after artificial breeding, once we have the seed, we can ranch or artificial stock these into the natural water body, so that we augment the natural stocks of that particular fish. Then research on various aspects of native fish and monitoring. Then, of course, designate some areas as sanctuaries or parks, or, a particular season can be designated as a closed season where fishing is not allowed, especially during the spawning season of that particular fish. And then the ecosystem-based fisheries management, because we all know this is very important now. Of course, I don't have any example of this EBFM being followed in Jammu and Kashmir, but it is a holistic approach. It moves away from the traditional one species conservation model. And then fisheries co-management and community participation. Then this is just the last slide. I hope I have completed within the allotted 15 minutes. And this is our faculty, the Faculty of Fisheries of SCOST Kashmir. You are most welcome. If anybody is interested, you can come here. We would love to be your host. So even later also, if you have some queries, you can connect to me on my email, and the mobile number is also given. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Jayati.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for your enriching presentation. And I see like there are many questions from the participant audience. So I suggest that we can have all these questions like after we listen to Shilpi in the end. So we'll first listen to Dr. Shilpi, and then we'll have Sushant, who will have a discussion around this, and during that time we'll have all these questions answered. So I hope it's fine with everyone. So Dr. Shilpi, welcome to the session, and thank you for accepting our request to be one of the key speakers for this session. So Dr. Shilpi is a scientist and also the regional coordinator at the Telangana State Biodiversity Board since 2010. And she has her expertise in applied limnology and fisheries technology. And Dr. Shilpi was one of the instrumental persons behind getting this state fish of Telangana declared. So I think she'll be sharing more information about this during her presentation. So warm welcome, Dr. Shilpi.
Thank you. You can share my presentation. Thank you. And till then, I may start with my topic. Like, we are talking here about aquatic diversity. And beforehand, we need to know. I want the next slide, the first slide, not this one. Yeah. So I really want to tell about biodiversity. Like biodiversity, when we think about biodiversity, we only think about the greenery, the forest, the plants. We never think about other species near to us. We don't take them as other species, which are very much collateral to us in the ecosystem. We always have special concern for forest, for greeneries, for plants, but we need to take care of everything in a very holistic way so that the full ecosystem is conserved. In that, we have forgot the microorganisms, we have forgot the lichens, the mushrooms, the fungi, the fishes very well. So next slide, please. So, yeah, I know that the maximum part is forest, 30 to 45% is forest. So that there is a basic concern is there for forest. But then the other parts are agricultural, insects, soil microbes, where we have, if you go for study of microbes, you have to see soil, you have to test water, you have to test air, and you may get so many beneficial and non-beneficial microbes also. So even agriculture is dependent on microbes. The same way fisheries, animal husbandry, it is a very small part, 15 to 20%, but it is significant. And then we have a marine part, which like we have mangroves, which also has a special concern about fisheries, because if we don't have mangroves, we will lose so much of fish species, which is totally in the mangroves region. So next, please. Then we have, as if we go into fishes, we have freshwater fishes, we have brackish water fishes. We can see how we have chitala, we have Notopterus, we have gray mullets for brackish water, we have cold water fisheries. Sir has recently, Professor Shah has very nicely described the cold water fishes of Kashmir and all the Arctic region. So we have mahashir, we have golden mahashir, and so many things we have in cold water. And ornamental fishes are there. But if you talk about ornamental fishes in India, we don't concentrate on ornamental fishes which are very much indigenous to India. We have a very different concern, and we basically identify ornamental fishes with a very different attitude. We don't think over as the indigenous fishes of India as the ornamental fishes. So there are many new species also found in the contest of fishes. Like we have so many, around 31 new species recently found in. And next slide, please. So the next slide, or I'll continue. So the next slide, please.
Just a second.
Yeah. Then I'll continue.
Yes, please.
So it's like when we talk about indigenous species, why are we so much vocal about indigenous species? Why there is a need of talking about indigenous species? Because we are only thinking with the prospect of livelihood and with a very different prospect of food nutrition. So we only want the basic, like Indian major crops, to be conserved, to be grown in. So these are the reasons why we are only talking about Indian major crops and certain species which are very highly growth rate is very high. So the reason like Puntius, and we have tilapia. These are some tilapia, like an exotic fish, and we are talking about these species just for nutritional and for livelihood generation. We have forgot the aspect that every species of this ecosystem is important. So we have lost our small indigenous species. Even in the local markets, if you go in some tribal region, and if you see some local market, they may not contain katla, rohu, and mirgal. They may contain some small species which are very rare now. So we need to concentrate on this, because this is a high time. If we don't concentrate on this, we are losing it day by day. We don't know what we are losing. So we may find so many new species, but we need to concentrate what we are losing. So especially as biodiversity and biodiversity board, we concentrate on certain things like what we are losing and how to conserve those species which we are losing. So my presentation, basically we concentrate on small indigenous fish species, and these species are I have given here how we see them as recorded species. In central India, it is around 120. In Western Ghats, it's around 196 species are there. And totally in India, about 450 SIFS are there. And they are very rich in protein and fatty acids and vitamins and minerals. If you think about nutrition value also, they are highly nutritive and they have very strong traditional knowledge related to them. So many tribals have their own traditions related to very small fishes near to them. So these nutritive values, these traditional knowledge are being lost with the species because we are losing. Every water body in India, as much I know, and specifically if I talk about the southern region and the Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka region, Tamil Nadu region, we are seeing that all the water bodies are filled with exotic species. Why? I don't know. Maybe it is introduction has been done by government or other organizations, maybe accidental. But the reason behind is just to increase the livelihood, just to get the nutritional value. But we need to concentrate on the biodiversity. We need to concentrate on the diversity of fish species, which are very much indigenous to that area. So we are working on these things with NBFGR, National Bureau of Plant Fish Genetic Resources. Next slide, please. And these are, you can just go on the next. I'm not interested to read these names. We can share this slide. This presentation. So these are some species which are there. And then, yeah, next. Yeah, so here are some health benefits of these indigenous species. They are very much significant amount of vitamin A and vitamin D is present in them. They are very good for human bones and teeth, eyes and skin. It is very much rich in calcium, phosphorus, iron and iodine, which are very much essential for development of resistant against the infections. And sir was talking about spuntius, which is very much beneficiary for lactating mothers. And it has a very high medicinal value here in Telangana. Specifically, I know how people deal with it in a traditional way in our local area. Then Sir Shah sir also discussed about threats. And here again, I'm discussing about threats because we are here talking about the aquatic diversity. Why we are sitting here talking about the aquatic diversity? Because it is facing so much of threats. So these threats are the most important thing we need to take care. One is pollution. Everybody knows about it. Pollution, over exploitation, habitat destruction. We are destroying each and everything and we are making it maybe for irrigation purpose, maybe it's for drinking water purpose, but we are destroying things and destroying the ecosystem. Then we have use of small mesh size gears. People in the farmers don't know, the fish farmers, that what mesh size they should use so that the small fishes are not disturbed in the ecosystem. There are so many diseases which are introduced by the exotic species. Then we have a very important thing which I forgot to write here, I think so, yes, is like we don't have breeding patterns. We don't have, like, if you want katla in your place, you can get it in the market. If you want rohu, you can get it. If you want tilapia, you can get it. But if you want some very small fish species, even our state, Telangana state fish, is, if you want them, you cannot get it easily because we cannot artificially breed them. So now we all should think about the artificial breeding patterns of these species so that we can go for future conservations. Next slide, please. And now it's like we are also thinking of how to conserve it, how to promote it. So we need certain awareness with the public, with the community. We need to conserve the indigenous species. People know about the importance of it, but we have forgotten. So we need to create that again, that awareness in people, in communities, so that they don't forget. Even we need to make some policy changes, and we need to create certain types of awareness at the government level so that the policies are not in against these species. And we should have certain workshops and training programs for women and the village, for SSG groups, so that they can conserve. Next slide, please. Yes. So other idea which sir has also mentioned, here in Telangana also, we are trying to conserve these species by making biodiversity parks. And we are trying to make certain lakes as biodiversity parks for fishes, and we are trying to conserve them. Next. And here, this is a photo, it's a picture just to show the idea. In this, we are happy. It's like a habitat. We are conserving the birds. We are conserving so many amphibians, reptiles, and including fishes. So it's like a hub of biodiversity. Next. Next. This is also just a picture of it. Next. So yes, we were talking about how to go for conservation. So we should have a small freshwater edible nutritional values, and we should have an biodiversity park, which I suggested and showed on pictures also. We are in very starting stage of this, and we need a lot of work to be done in this. And let's see how, and I also feel like anybody in this group can suggest some ideas. How can we go for the conservation of fishes? Even youth, young ideas, young mind ideas are very innovative, and we need to get those ideas so that we can come up with good conservation plans. Next, please. So there are, we see when we talk about conservation, we should not leave about livelihood. We cannot throw livelihood inside and just do conservation. So we thought of bringing these things together and getting livelihood for the farmers as well as conservation. So we brought this integrated farming system with certain pilot farmers, beneficiaries of Telangana, who are very much interested in fisheries. They are basically agricultural farmers, and we introduced horticulture, like we introduced banana trees with them. We introduced fish hatcheries. We introduced a farm pond. Next slide, you can see. We introduce these are the fish, see how they have earned this. Next, please. So yeah, we have also made a farm pond, which this farm pond will help them to irrigate their agricultural fields also, the horticulture part also. Even they are having some animals, they can also drink waters there, and they can conserve and grow fish also. So it should not go like livelihood should be set aside or conservation should be set aside. Both the things should be going in together. Next, please. Yeah, so this is how the farmer is selling it in the market and earning profit. Even if I tell you, people in India, we are talking basically in this Deccan region, Maharashtra and Telangana region, we are getting so many farmers suicide because of loss in farming. So this integrated farming system where you can earn from fishes also, you can earn from animals also, you can earn from hen, egg also, poultry also. Even if you get some problem in agriculture, you do not to die for certain things, your livelihood will be going into existence because so many other things you can earn with. So it's like conservation as well as livelihood. Next. So here, as Jayati was talking about, we as Telangana State Biodiversity Board, Telangana is the new state. It is the youngest state in India. And when the state was formed, we had a state bird, state fish, state tree and state animal, but state festival, but we forgot the state fish. So we as Biodiversity Board reminded the government that we need to declare a state fish also, because declaration of these species is not like just on paper or just for policy changes. We need to declare for their conservation, for their importance. So this Channa strateus was declared as a state fish because it has a very important impact in Telangana and Hyderabad. A world famous medicine from Bantiya family. It's a traditional medicine for asthma, is being sold here in Hyderabad, and only one day a year on some specific nakshatra or something, they are giving this medicine, and they have a website all over the world. People register there for that one day, and that medicine is kept in the mouth of the fish. And with very small fingerlings of size fish mouth, the medicine is kept, and they are being swallowed by the patient. And 2 days or in 1 day or 2 days, in Telangana, this around 5 lakhs fishes are being eaten. So it's a very pride, because it's a very like, I know we are consuming around 5 lakh species, 5 lakhs number of these fishes in a day or two, but it is a matter of pride for Telangana because it's a traditional medicine which has been taken with this species. So we have declared it as the state fish. Next, please. Next. Yeah, so this is tilapia, and why I need to keep this slide, because we have also restricted this species. We have not stopped growing of this species. We cannot do that. So we have restricted the culture of exotic species in Telangana to conserve the indigenous species. What is happening is these species can be grown, but with a gift, like means it's like a gift tilapia, which is only for male tilapias can be grown in any way, in anywhere. But if you grow both male females, it breed very furiously, and it is a mouth breeder, and it's, if you Google, they will say it is a herbivorous, but I feel like it's not a herbivorous fish. It is a omnivorous fish. Whatever it gets, it eats. And so live in the ponds, in the lakes, where 10 years, 20 years back, there was a big variety of species available. Today, only tilapia is there. So we have surveyed so many lakes in and around Telangana, and we have only found tilapia at present. So after that research, we came up with this idea of restricting these species, and we are trying hard to create that awareness. Thank you. I hope I'm on time.
Thank you so much, Shilpi.
We can't hear you, Jayati.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shilpi, for your this informative and interesting presentation. And thanks for sharing this integrated model of fish and farm, where you can have both conservation and also livelihood going hand in hand. So I will not take much time and quickly invite Sushant, a young participant. So Sushant is our discussant and youth representative for today's session. Sushant holds an MSc degree in economics from BITS Pilani, and he is actually has been involved in many projects as a volunteers and as a intern, which are focusing on biodiversity conservation. And he is currently working with All Is Well Foundation based at Kakinada, which focuses on coastal rejuvenation program. So warm welcome, Sushant. Yes, over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So let's quickly start the discussion part of the program. So I thought we would broadly break the discussion into two parts. So the first part, maybe we can start discussing with the major challenges in the freshwater biodiversity are facing. And in the second part, we can discuss about different mitigation measures, something which are happening, something which need to be happened. So we'll start with the first part. So I think Dr. Shilpi ma'am has given us a list of different challenges we are facing in the freshwater biodiversity, as did Professor Shah. So we have seen how pollution, how climate change, agricultural practices, and overfishing are causing biodiversity imbalances and causing challenges for different freshwater species. But I think let's start with a discussion of what are the different lifestyle methods or lifestyles we are following, which are invisibly causing a lot of damage to fish biodiversity, because this is something which can be addressed by each and every one of us, regardless of what field we are in or what position we are in. So I mean, there are certain issues, like maybe I would like to ask your opinions on if having fish as a part of our diet is causing more problems with biodiversity, or as Shilpi ma'am has described, sometimes it is also causing a positive effect on biodiversity conservation. And there are issues like microplastics and use of different chemicals in urban areas, which are causing these problems to freshwater biodiversity. So I'd like to ask the speakers to give their opinion on what lifestyle practices are causing these problems to freshwater biodiversity. So maybe we can start with Professor Shah.
Yes, thank you, Sushant. Of course, fish are considered as one of the healthiest food. So because of omega-3 fatty acids which are present in fish, this is a very, very healthy food. But I don't think that there are some areas where, of course, the per capita consumption of fish is huge. If you talk about Bengal, I think they eat fish every day. But if you talk about Kashmir, we don't even eat fish in 2 months. So yes, there are some areas where, because of the lifestyle, because of culture, the consumption of fish is more. So once the demand is more, the consumption is more, of course there will be more pressure on that particular fish. So if some areas we have a preference for the indigenous fish also, like Dr. Shilpi talked about some of these the state fish also like channa, because not just for for food, this is also eaten as as a medicine, this particular fish. So once you have these kinds of practices going on in these areas, there is definitely a lot of pressure on that particular fish. So consumer acceptance, I have also seen in case of these areas, is huge for the indigenous fish especially. So we have in our place, we have, even though we have the common carp, one of the most widely cultured fish in the world, not just in India. In the world, there is, I don't think there is any place where you will not find the common carp. But still, preference, if you see, it is for the Schizothoracids. Because of maybe culture, we have been eating that fish for hundreds and hundreds of years. Because of that, even if the taste will be better but still people will say no. उस मछली का तो मजा ही different है. So that is there, of course, in some of the northeastern states. You might have heard about the singhi and the magur. Again, very, very important fish as far as the northeastern side is concerned. And there also, we have also, some places where, people think that if we, that's kind of a sacrifice of a particular fish, but not by killing it. But what they do is that they stock it in a particular water body. Like, for instance, they'll get this tilapia and put it in a water body. It's somewhat related to maybe, I don't know, religion or culture. But what happens is that we are introducing a particular invasive fish in a particular area, which also causes very huge damage to the indigenous fish of that particular area. So in a way, you are right, but I don't think that because of lifestyle, there will be a huge decline in the fish stocks. But yes, we are exploiting fish unsustainably. That is in records also, because every year we want more and more fish to come. So we are increasing our fleet size. If you talk about some 10, 20 years back, the fishing fleet which was available in the country today, it is, I think it will be around 2 to 3 times more. What is it happening? Because, the resource size is not increasing, but what we are, the fleet size is increasing. So what is happening is that we are over exploiting the fish stocks. So if Dr. Shilpi might add something.
Shilpi,
Yeah.
could you please switch on your camera?
Yes. I was just into a call. So can I just know what was the topic about threats and conservations here?
So I would like to ask your opinion on what is the effects of different lifestyles which are having an effect on freshwater biodiversity, like fish consumption
Lifestyle
or
effect is there. Even if you talk about single-use plastic, there are so many things. Plastics, if you see your sea waste, marine waste, maximum is of plastic. Yeah. So these are stuck in. Recently, I saw in Aminpur on 2nd Feb, Wetland Day. Jayati knows about that. I went there. So we saw a fish dead, a very big fish. So we extracted it, harvested it out, and we tried to see that what's the problem. And there was a fisherman, so we cutted the fish and we saw totally the throat was stuck with plastic. So there are people will just throw plastic waste and they never think how drastically it is spoiling. So lifestyle is a big thing to any ecosystem, for destruction of any ecosystem.
Yes. So the second
yeah,
thing,
I think especially in case of urban lakes, it's a big problem. Like where your lakes and other water bodies are used as cesspools. So they receive directly untreated sewage and the water, like in some of the lakes in Hyderabad, the dissolved oxygen was reported as 0. So they have become literally dead waters. Yeah, Sushant, you have next question.
So the secondly, we've seen, if you look at different government policies or stresses on biodiversity, we can find most of them are concentrated on megafauna, right? We can see that animals like tigers, elephants, and even some migratory birds, they find a lot of importance in this biodiversity conservation. I mean, non-anthropocentric point of in a non-anthropocentric point of view. And the reasoning they receive is that these species are usually keystone species, so their survivability is already linked with all the other species in the ecosystem. But is the same thing happening in the freshwater biodiversity? Because here the food chains and dynamics are completely different. So maybe if we concentrate on few megafauna, like the center is doing with, there's a lot of focus being received on gangetic dolphins. But is the same effect, can we see the same effect by conserving gangetic dolphins? Can we protect the whole biodiversity scene over there? So that's
No. See, why the government, the policymakers are focusing on bigger things is like they want a bigger impact in a smaller way. So they think, and they need more conservation. You see how many tigers we had before Project Tiger, right? So how many dolphins we have in the Gangas now at present. So we need certain things. But there are certain species where we don't even look at. We don't even think about it. We don't see, unless and until we know what we have, we cannot think about its conservation. So we have not even documented certain things in our ecosystem. So how would we go for conservation? So we are very, very superficial conservation projects are going on. And so we people have to take initiative and try to conserve. Like recently we have registered a cattle breed in Telangana. It is a very unique cattle breed, which was very much conserved by the community tribals of that region. So it has so much around 400 traditional knowledge has been associated with it. So we are trying to document that also, and we have registered it. Till now, since 400 years, it was not registered and it was conserved by the communities. So it's not, see, conservation is not only government policies. Conservation is not only done through government employees or government officials. Conservation has to be done with so many stakeholders. In these stakeholders, we have communities, the basic conserver, I should say, the knowledge holder, the actual conserver of any bioresource or any ecosystem is the community which is holding it, living near it. So we need to work on them. We need to create awareness to them, and many are aware. Whatever I feel is, we have so much of scientific awareness. We have so much of bookish awareness. But if you go to meet a tribal, if you go and meet the community people, they have a very different sort of a conservation awareness. I can tell you one thing. Recently, around 2-3 years back, we have to intervene between the forest and animal husbandry department and the community fight. And then I came to know that they were not fighting uselessly. They were just asking you to stop the AI. And government is saying by animal husbandry has to do AI. And that community is saying we don't want AI. So that was okay. That was correct. They want to conserve the actual breed which they have. So we need to intervene and get that tribals and the traditional holders, the voice of them, we have to make them vocal, and the youth has to connect with the people and the community so that we can go for it. Thank you.
Dr. Shah?
Yes, actually, you talked about these, policies that we have for conserving these resources. But unfortunately, in many parts of India, we see that, fisheries is not getting the due attention which it should get. That is, I think, the, last, I don't know, I won't call it priority, but down at the bottom of the list, you will find fisheries. Just to cite an example, we have the world famous Dal Lake here in Kashmir. So we earlier had an authority which was called as a Dal Development Authority. And then subsequently it was renamed as Lakes and Waterways Development Agency, LAWDA. So now it is called as Lake Conservation and Management Authority, LCMA. But there are actually two committees for that particular agency or authority. So one is the scientific committee, which looks after this, how to conserve, how to see that this lake is conserved. It does not become a cesspool, a swamp. But you'll be surprised to see that there are members from the irrigation department, from forest, from the urban engineering environmental division, from the court also, some journalists also, but there is not even one single person from fisheries. So, we have water and we do not think of fish, then we can see, so any policy that particular agency will make, they'll never think of fish because it will not cross their mind. But if a fisheries person is there on that particular authority, he'll say, no, if we do this, this is going to be very detrimental for the fish populations. So we are trying, but unfortunately, we have not been successful in that. So you see other bodies also where, fish is involved, we'll see that it does not get the due attention which it should get from that particular area. And then another thing which Dr. Shilpi also discussed about, the grassroots participation, what we call as the community participation in this conservation. That is also now called as the co-management. It's different from the top-down approach, the command and control approach which we earlier had. Now it is shifting to let us involve the community also in conservation, the fishers in fisheries sector. But even though I don't know whether it is working properly, but it might be working in some areas because I have been working in this sector for a long time, and I see that many of these fishers are, I'm sorry to say, but they are greedy. Greedy to the extent is that if they catch a fish which is juvenile, it is small in size, or a fish which is having eggs, or a crustacean or a prawn which has eggs, what we call as the buried females, so they will never release it back into the water. Even though law says that a particular size of fish should not be caught because it is juvenile, but they will catch juveniles. They will go for an indiscriminate fishing activities, blasting, cyanide poisoning. Every time of electric fishing also, you put these electricity into a particular water body to kill all. So these even though it might be working in some areas, but we need to aware these fisher populations, because I have seen that they are not properly following the law. So of course, conservation, it will be effective if we involve the community in this.
Yeah, after hearing sir, I just reminded in my mind, in Himachal, in Uttarakhand, we have noted in long back when I was working with the Fish Genetic Resources, Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources, we have recorded some festivals which have been conducted there where they use a plant species called tumuru or something, and they used to put it from the higher end of the river, and all the fishes, may it be small, may it be a very fingerling stage, were dead by reaching the low lines. And they used to collect some which they can sold in the market. The rest were just thrown outside the river shores. So there are certain activities we need to create that awareness. And the basic reason what I feel is the government policies. The government will only think about, if you talk about fisheries department, what fisheries department mandate is to create livelihood for the fishermen, to make societies, to get the fisheries growth in their states and get more production. That's it. So more production will come from certain species. It will be not coming from other species which are very small or which are not much easily grown in the water system. So we need to also work about at the policy level. We need to also work on that.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I don't think any of these departments has funds earmarked for artificial breeding of these indigenous fish. No, I don't think so. No, it will not be present anywhere.
No, when now we are trying to change the policy, at least at Telangana level, we are trying to have an action plan for each department, and we are trying to include this in the fisheries department, but it's very difficult. Every department, yes. I'll tell you,
best of luck.
For the cat, Yeah, I'll tell you, for the cattle registration project, when in the starting of the project, before the launch, my secretary asked me to go and take the approval of Animal Husbandry Department, because in principle, they are the owners of that. So I used to, and when I used to go there, the director used to say, this is not our mandate, this is not our work, do whatever you want. Why you want our approval? I said, we don't want your approval. You just sign in the report, you just sign in the project that you are in line, you are in principle with us. He said, no, not required. It's not required. Why you want to register? What is the need of it? And then I used to go daily. I was the person, 1 month, I used to go daily in the morning, see that director's face, and he used to smile at me. And why this lady is coming daily? And one day he said, give me where I have to sign, give me, I'll sign. And very vaguely he signed. And I'm telling you, after a year, after 2 years, when we got it registered by Government of India, when I went to congratulate them, I saw a big Turpu cattle standing below in the office. Jayati, you can go there and check it out. A very big Turpu cattle is standing down. And in their cabin behind the director's seat, a big Turpu photo was there. And I was like, oh, they are owing it now. When it is declared, so they are owing that bioresource. When it was not declared, it was just thrown away, nobody was owing it. So we need to take certain steps and bring this into a limelight and picturize them. It's difficult, but yes, we can.
Yeah. So in the same line of this argument, there have been reports that government is trying to introduce an all India environmental services to shift the focus from just the productive or anthropocentric activities regarding the nature into more environmental and biodiversity point of view programs. So, and I mean, most of these programs, like for example, there is joint forest management which is being done in context of forests, but the same thing is there is nothing nearby with conservation of water bodies where government and the locals can work together and expand the mandate of their activities from just livelihoods or just conservation to working in synergy with each other. So do you think these steps are in the right direction that we need for this
Yeah, I'll tell you, I didn't have time, so I was not able to present my full presentation. Here we have a Biological Diversity Act 2002. It is as per CBD, Convention of Biological Diversity, and that has 3 objectives: conservation, sustainable utilization, and assess benefit sharing. And as per the act, every Gram Panchayat, every jurisdiction, Gram Panchayat, Mandal, Zilla Parishad, district, municipality should have a biodiversity management committee. As BSS, as JFM are there, as there are many watershed management committees are there in the village, same we have a biodiversity management committee. It's a committee with 7 members, and they should be elected members or selected by the Gram Panchayat or the municipal combination. Anywhere they can select it. They can select the 7 members. These 7 members, 2 should be women, and 1 should be ST and 1 should be SC. And this is a government statutory body. It's just not a committee. It's just not like JFM. It's just not like VSS. It is a statutory body. The biggest example, there are several examples in India about BMCs. Recent one example here in Telangana, there is a place called Warangal district. Inside that, there is a village where there was a lake. And near that lake, mining activity was going since 2 years. And the village people wanted to protect that lake. I don't know, they must be having some rituals or something. They wanted to protect that water body. And methodically, they were like very much close to that water body, and they really wanted to protect it. And they were trying their level best with the collectors, with all the politicians, but they were not able to do anything because the mining permission was given by government. So they couldn't stop that mining permission. And they formed this BMC. And after this BMC was formed, they just asked a simple question to my district coordinator that, can we save this lake by stopping this mining? And then my district coordinator immediately called us and he asked, can we do this? I said, yes, you can. Write a letter through BMC, not through Sarpanch, not through any MLA. Write a letter through BMC to the villagers, to the collector, to the Zilla Parishad, to the Minister of Climate, of Environment, and see the impact. Let's see. And you know, within that evening, they gave that letter, and night 1 o'clock, that mining was stopped. Until now, that mining has not started. So this is the impact of Biodiversity Management Committee. It is a legal body. It's a very much statutory legal body.
Yeah, thank you, Shilpi. Sushant, can we have like a few questions from the audience, because I think we are running
Sure.
bit of time, and then because we are discussing such an interesting and burning issue that we never have seem to have enough time. So maybe we'll have another episode, volume 2 of this discussion. So we can quickly have like a few questions from the audience, so that we can then conclude the session for today. And I'm sure like we will keep discussing these issues in our next session.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, so Sushant, can you see some of the questions, or maybe audience can directly ask those questions? Yeah.
I
Jayati, I have put two questions, one from Fazia and Ajit.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so maybe you can take those two questions.
Okay. Sure. So I think Fazia can directly ask. I think
No,
it's about
we have to put it
hydropower.
here.
Yeah. I think she wanted to ask about like how this is the fisheries or fishes are impacted
There
by
is a one
hydropower.
question which I can see is like fish species can be in freshwater as well as in seawater. Yes.
Yes.
So can tell, and even I can tell, yes, example is Hilsa, they can go for breeding and they can come back to their habitat. Yes.
Yeah.
Other questions I'm reading.
Yes, there are
And I
migratory
think,
fish species which move between these two waters, between marine and fresh waters. No problem in that.
yeah.
There's a
So
question on
Fazia,
how
could you?
there's a question on how do you see the thrust on hydropower as an alternate to fossil fuel, which may impact the fisheries?
Yes, see, this is a very good question, even though we call it a green technology, but it is not green at all, because it very adversely impacts the migratory fish species. So once we construct a dam, it is a barrier for the migratory route of fish, because many fish migrate to shallower areas for breeding. So once we construct a particular dam there, a hydroelectric power generation project there, so what happens is that it stops the migration of that particular fish. And if that particular downstream of that dam, there is no suitable site for spawning, so we will see absolutely zero population, zero recruitment of that particular fish. There are many instances, where we have seen an absolute collapse of that fish species because of construction of dams. So it is not at all good, even though there are many means by which we can restore migration of that particular fish. We have what we call as the fish ladders or fish passes. We also have many of these technologies like fish lifts, because of which we can to some extent restore that migration of that particular fish. But maybe efficiency is questionable for even those particular alternatives, so that we are able to restore. But I don't think hydroelectric power generation is good for fisheries. But we have to develop also. So this is a double-edged sword for us. We need development also. We need to save the biodiversity also. So somewhere we have to draw a line where we are able to save both.
Yeah, I just want to ask one question. I could not listen. I'm tempted to ask. So, Professor Shah, have you experienced any or reported any change in biodiversity composition due to temperature rise because of climate change? Because Kashmir is something very sensitive zone, and we see a lot of impacts of climate change, and one of them is temperature rise. And you said that these fishes are very sensitive towards physico-chemical factors, external factors. So have you reported any this kind of changes?
No, actually, we have not done that such study, but because we have a different division for that. We have the aquatic environmental division, which works as far as the physico-chemical parameters of water is concerned. So they have seen that yes, there is a very sharp change as far as these water quality parameters are concerned. For many of these high altitude lakes or streams or rivers also, apart from pollution, yes, we see a definite increase in temperature also. But we have as yet not done that study and connected it with fish, because such type of work needs long study, and then also you need reliable historical data, which should be present with you. But we do not have that kind of, maybe in some of the states, you might have some historical data, but it is not present here. But yes, I can say that, I have worked on oil sardine. I have done my master's and PhD from Central Institute of Fisheries Education, Mumbai. So I've worked on oil sardine, and if we see that oil sardine also just because I have worked on that particular fish. So we saw that in earlier years, that particular fish was not present on the east coast of India. It was present only on the west coast. So only stray catches some 30, 40 years back were present on the east coast. But now, it is moving obviously because of climate change. So it is moving on the east coast. And there is a scientist who have worked on climate change, Dr. Vivekanandan from CMFRI. He had some years back said that in certain years, maybe 5-10 years down the line, you'll see this fish weight getting reported from Bangladesh waters. So oil sardine has also been reported from Bangladesh waters. Now, earlier it was not present there, but because of climate change, increase in the temperature of water, it is moving up.
Okay, yeah. So Mansi, yeah, because it's already 6:20, so maybe you can make a closing remark, and we will continue this discussion in our next sessions.
Thank you so much, Jayati, for the wonderful session, and thank you, Dr. Shah and Dr. Shilpi, for enlightening us, and of course our young Sushant, who is full with questions. I know all your questions are still not answered, but of course now you are connected to these people, you can always get in touch with them. And for all the participants, thank you so much for your support and encouragement, for making this conversation so meaningful for us. Because of you, we are motivated to continue doing these conversations. Do keep joining us for the next Wednesday and the Wednesdays to come. Next Wednesday, we are again starting with another series, which is a riverscapes series, where we are going to talk about the physical aspects of the river and take into mythology and other aspects of river into account. And that will be co-hosted by ICOMOS with us. And so please join us on 15th of February for this. But we have an interesting announcement for you. Day after tomorrow, in our Friday Waters, we are having a very special session on Meet a Maestro, and Shyam Benegal sir is going to join us and discuss with us on his few films which are related to water. And one of them which is current film, which is he is working on Bangladesh on Mujib, the making of a nation. So of course, my favorite film, Well Done Abba, will be discussed at length with Shyam Benegal sir. So that's on 10th. And then next month on 8th, again, we are coming back with the biodiversity series, and Jayati is going to take us through few more speakers and few more species to talk about it. So thank you all for this, and please take care of yourself.